welcome back into the Wolves Den. Hostess with the mostest here, Jay Bir, as always. We got our good friend here of the show, Mr. Jeremy Harper. You know him as the A-State Fan Rules. Follow him on Twitter. He's a fascinating follow. You're a man of many. You're an eclectic fellow.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, I could use more follows.
Yeah, so there you go. Boom, there it is. Let's just jump right into this game here. SIU taking on Arkansas State up there at the Cent. Kind of a one of these games where you'd like to see just the team handle their business. And here you go, right out the gate. Blake is back. Yep. Not only is he back in the building, but hit him with a little razzle-dazzle.
Yeah,
Longest reception for Logan Bonner's career. I see Ryan Graham there getting things going here. I don't know. The running game for me here, as we kind of noticed it there, and then you see kind of the defense as well here, Harp. What did we make of this? It was one of those things, and we said last week that the defense needs to kind of show up. Running game, like to see them both get going. Both of them kind of struggled in this one. Yeah, what do you take of that?
Well, the running game's been a mystery for a couple seasons now, so that's not really a huge concern for me because we'll figure something out with that. It's the secondary that's bugging me.
Yeah.
And I think it's bugging a lot of people because we're just giving up way too much space to some of these wide receivers, and it's just enabling any quarterback with some ability to throw the ball to pick apart the secondary. And then there seems to be some sort of strategy between the 20s. You know, just try to just keep them contained until we get them to the red zone. If you saw with SIU, I think they were 2 for 6 in the red zone.
Yeah.
We were 4 for 4 in the red zone, and that turned out to be the difference. And you'll see that in other games too, where we'll bend and not break. But eventually we're going to break. So
this play right here, one of the plays of the day here, Jonathan Adams coming down. They actually had to review that. Did count as a score, and that's kind of something big for ASU because they never get the reviews going their way. Again, though, the big plays there. Do we want to call this, one of these things where it's SIU maybe overlooking your opponent a little bit? Maybe they hit them a little tougher than what you think here. I did want to mention this right here. The longest passing play in Jones Boogie history right there. Bayless, of course, he's involved in it. But what do we think of
I think the Salukis are just a tough opponent, but also that we're looking ahead to the conference schedule.
Sure.
And another thing, we lost Jerry Jacobs, so we're trying to move guys in and around the secondary, see who works, see who doesn't, and they're learning on the fly too. So So there's going to be some mistakes. You're going to have, especially against an opponent like the Salukis, who you don't know who you're going to get. You don't know what's going to come after you. You're just going to have to play a game, and sometimes they found some weaknesses, and they exploited it. So good for them, but we were able to put them down. It's a win in the loss column.
There you go, and that's really all that matters here. So they moved to 2-2 on the year. 41-28 the final. Throw up the stats here for me, guys, because there's a lot to really sort of digest in this game. Obviously, you see Logan Bonner there. Pretty good day. Not as most accurate day, but 320 yards, 4 TDs, the real big thing. Isaiah Azubuike, say that 3 times fast, led the way rushing. 15 attempts there, 88 yards as a whole rushing. 27 attempts, only 117 yards. Just saw the Ryan Graham touchdown, and then the combo that is Bayless and Merritt putting up stupid numbers. You see there, Bayless really cashed in his chances there. 3 catches, 141 yards, though, with that long TD. And then Kirk Merritt really getting back into form, getting him worked back in there. I'm really excited to see him get kind of back into things here after that nasty hit he took against SMU.
Yeah, and I want to bring 2 points about that, too, with Merritt and Bayless. Merritt and Bayless have had good years this year. One thing I liked about Justice Hansen was that he was able to distribute the ball to a lot of receivers, and that's really kept a lot of defenses on their toes. This year, Bonner's really used Bayless and Merritt and
Joe Adams. Jonathan Adams.
Jonathan Adams, as sort of a security blanket, especially Bayless. So I would like to see a little more distribution with the ball. Maybe the tight ends getting more involved. Maybe some of the other wide receivers having some.
Heck, even the running backs coming out of the field, because those guys, you put them into some space.
The second thing I wanted to point out, and you might be putting that up with your SIU, is how many sacks the Salukis ended up getting. That was more alarming to me than, and even more than the secondary, was how many times that they were able to get penetration and get to Bonner. So something's got to work out with that offensive line before we get to Troy.
You mentioned that defense there. 526 total yards surrendered. You see almost 300 through the air, 229 on the ground. I think the ground numbers are a little alarming to me, especially with that defensive front, the way it is for them to kind of get through, and especially after shutting down a UNLV team that is a little more prolific when it comes to rushing the ball here. But you see the third down conversions struggled a little bit. SIU did just about 50%, which led to a little bit of your time of possession. And with Arkansas State, it's not really the biggest stat there is, but I thought it was interesting, the time differential that you saw there. And maybe it led to a little bit defense getting gassed and all that kind of thing. And then also Chambers leading the way there once again with the tackles, 11 total. And then William Bradley King doing what William Bradley King does, 2 sacks for a loss there. So you wanted to jump in there.
A little bit, yeah. That's probably the product of this bend don't break philosophy is it keeps that defense on the field forever, because they just spend the whole time from one end of the field to the other, and they don't really buckle down until they get to the 20s. And then the way we play offense is Bonner likes to throw deep. He likes to make big passes. You saw a couple there on the play. We're not getting the running game going. So the defense, if you looked at that SMU game at the end, Arkansas State on defense had nothing left.
Oh, yeah, they were gassed.
So when we get to guys like Troy and when we start playing people like Georgia Southern, it's going to make a difference, and we're going to have to find a way to get the defense off the field and have the offense eat some minutes.
All right, so we're sitting at 2-2 here, kind of in that range where a lot of people thought, yeah, probably 2-2, 3-1 would be best case scenario here. I guess looking at your non-conference slate as a whole, what do we make of this team so far?
You know, first of all, SMU has turned out to be a really good team.
Sure has, yeah, 4-0.
They just knocked off TCU, top 25 team. And we played them well. We wanted to get the win. We could have had a win. We should have had a win. I think it came down to a couple special team plays in my mind that prevented us from winning that. Going to UNLV, all the way out to Nevada, that's a long way. UNLV may not be a great opponent this year, but to go out there and get the win in such a convincing fashion was really nice.
Think you like to see kind of the sort of the hair-raising thing there with SIU. It's, you go out to UNLV, like you said, an inferior opponent, at least on paper, handle the business.
Yeah.
Whereas against SIU, maybe not as much, but obviously they were emotionally charged for that game.
SIU just may have it more together right now. There seems to be a lot of turmoil going on within the ranks at UNLV.
Yeah.
Georgia, we knew we were going to have a tough time against Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia going to Georgia.
And we always want to perform better against. We wanted to perform well against Alabama last year. We wanted to perform well against Georgia this year.
Yeah.
But Georgia's going to make a lot of people look awful, and we just have to accept that. So,
well, let me get your take on that Georgia game. I thought it was better in the fact that it wasn't like Alabama, where a couple of mistakes shot them in the foot, and the game was basically over within 10 minutes. Now in Georgia, it was a very businesslike for them. They just kind of grinded it out. There weren't a whole lot of big plays. You see that one right there. But it was drive after drive. Arkansas State didn't shoot themselves in the foot necessarily. They had the one turnover, but it was real late in the game.
That's actually really a big difference between last year and this year.
Yeah.
Last year it seemed like it's nothing but personal fouls,
right.
Nothing but a lot of false starts, a lot of just dumb penalties that really took us out of a lot of games.
Yeah.
This year we're not being taken out of the games by the penalties.
Right.
We're still getting a few penalties. The false starts are always going to be a problem, especially with a Blake Anderson offense that likes to play quick.
Yeah.
But at least there's a lot more discipline this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where that's coming from. I don't know who's providing that leadership. I thought maybe it was
something
Bayless.
Finally went off. Yeah.
but
the light bulb finally went off.
Something has clicked, and somebody sat down and said, "Everybody's got to calm down and stop. We need to stop giving out free yards."
Yeah. And then obviously the SIU game. The offense doing what the offense did. Defense. Again, I didn't get to watch this game in its entirety. But is this maybe a product of a little bit of playing down to your opponent, maybe just being real base style in this? Obviously, having to adjust to life without Jerry Jacobs. Sure. There's going to be an adjustment period.
SIU is not a bad FCS.
Yeah, they're not a bad FCS team.
We have some long history with them, so I'm sure they brought that to the table when they came out. It was a big game for them. We are looking ahead to the conference, so there's a lot of things at play. It would have been nice if we had blown them out 60-0. Maybe it was better that they didn't. It was kind of a wake-up call.
That's true, so because we remember from a few years back, the UCA lost. Catapulted them into a conference championship. So,
at least we got the win, as opposed to UCA when we didn't get the win. But
nobody likes those L's, especially those in-state ones. But I think a lot of people maybe would trade the ring for maybe a week or two of embarrassment.
I think so, yeah.
All right, here. So what do we make of this team? I guess right now here at the third mark of the season.
You know, it's really kind of hard to put your fingers on the pulse. You know, I think there are a lot of things that will make you nervous.
Yeah.
You know, it's the secondary makes you nervous, the
Right.
offensive line makes you nervous, but we also have to remember we have a whole new coaching staff that's come.
That's true, yeah.
And so we want to see results, and we want to see results right away, but there's a lot of people getting used to new schemes, getting used to new methods. So we've had 4 weeks to kind of get that down. I'm
Right.
hoping they'll get that to Troy. I think Bonner's been outstanding.
I think he's been great.
When you see him play, he overthrows a lot. And I think that's just because he's a little inexperienced. And those overthrows, I think by the time we get to Troy, are going to end up actually landing in people's hands. So that's going to be nice.
Yeah, because the deep balls did look a lot better in that SIU game. Now, granted, it's SIU, but you want to see your guys handling what they do.
Exactly. In fact, versus SMU and versus UNLV, I mean, Bonner was just jacked. He was just, I mean, when
Right,
he was
he's an intense dude to begin with,
He was throwing him over people's heads. The last thing that's really surprised me is the kicking game.
Groupie's been great. He was 5 for 5 on kicks.
I think we had it in our heads that we're going to have to go for 2 all the time because the kicking has just been so erratic the last couple of years. But Groupie has really nailed it down. Now, I don't know if he's going to hit a 50-yarder anytime soon, but he's been hitting some pretty good shots. So that's become a part of the game that we at least can rely on.
Right.
And when you don't have a field goal unit to rely on, it's a big mess. I think we've seen it a couple years where it's really thrown us off our game. Other than that, I'm a little concerned going into Troy because Troy knows how to throw and they know how to run, and I'm not sure if this defense is up for that yet.
Well, you bring up Troy. Let's look into some of those keys to that one here. First one, for me at least, defense got to show up.
Defense has to show up. Bradley King has to put some pressure on Caleb Barker, or he's just going to pick apart that secondary all night. And so is Forrest Merrill. He's going to have to show up too. And somebody's going to have to step up for Jerry Jacobs.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacobs is such a huge loss. He was really having a great season, and to see him go down was pretty hard. Other than that, I think the offense should be fine. You know, Bonner's going to find his guys. He's going to find Bayless. He's going to find Merritt. He's going to find Adams. Adams always seems to take a little bit to warm up. It takes him a quarter, but after he warms up, he does great. I would like to see a little bit more distribution with the ball, just to put Troy off center. And I'd like to see Marcel Murray get back on the field. I hope that he gets back on the field. I know Graham's been doing well. Azubuike, is that
Azubuike, I think is that it is.
Never pronounce that name. He's been doing okay.
Isaiah, we'll just call him Isaiah.
Let's do that. He's been doing well in the meantime, but it would be nice to get Murray back in the back.
Absolutely here, which kind of leads me to the next one here. Bonner. He's a gunslinger. He's going to take some chances. We've seen a lot of that. He's not a reckless gunslinger. I think that was the big concern coming into the season. Just, kind of his swagger. It's kind of Baker Mayfield-esque.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't he only have 1 pick?
I think one, maybe 2.
Yeah, I think he has been very careful. So, and maybe it's partly due to the receivers too. The receivers are an older, more mature group,
a wiser group.
So they know what to do. And Bonner has been there for several years now, learning behind Hansen. So it's not like he's just a freshman coming out. So they've done a really good job protecting the ball.
Absolutely. You mentioned Marcel Murray. Boom, right into the next one. See, this guy's a prophet.
I didn't realize. I should have looked at this before.
Absolutely. The run game. I want to see the run game do things. Now, obviously, you don't want it to become a thing at the peril of the passing game, just because this team is flinging the ball and they're doing it very well right now. But, man, that's just an element that I think has just been missing. Obviously, Marcel Murray being out, it kind of hinders that, but we've seen that offensive line struggle a little bit.
When right before Murray went down at UNLV, he was beginning to warm up. He was starting to break out some nice runs. It was like, okay, this is the Marcel Murray that we remember. He didn't have a great game against SMU, but he started to warm up against UNLV, and then I saw him limping off the field. I was like, oh no, that's not good. And so we haven't seen him, but maybe he will be the guy that will get us going. But part of it might be that offensive line too, still trying to figure out that scheme. So.
And like you said, obviously new O-line coach there this year, a little different scheme, maybe a little different philosophy. Obviously, a lot of things going here. But I don't think it's quite time to panic yet with the run game. But
I don't think so.
I'm concerned myself.
Oh,
I'm concerned. Obviously, this is going to be a heated affair here. These two teams don't like each other. I like that they don't like each other. Penalties. You mentioned it earlier. They kind of seem to come and go a little bit. I don't mind hustle penalties. You're offsides. You're trying to jump things. Sometimes a block in the back, which is status quo on the special teams. I can live with those, but it's those, the ones where you kind of get out of control with it, which kind of leads me to the next point also, is control the emotions.
Yeah.
It's those personal fouls, those 15-yarders.
It seems this year that the Red Wolves have played with a lot more discipline this year, which has been great to see. The game against SMU a couple years ago is a good example of the team just completely disintegrating.
They melted down.
And losing their cool. This year, they've been plenty of opportunities to lose cool, and it hasn't happened. They've kept their cool. They've remained focused.
Yeah.
And maybe that has something to do with some senior leadership. But I'd like to see that translate over to Troy. I think Troy will actually, you're right, that'll be the bigger test. That'll be the biggest test.
Absolutely here. And Troy obviously dealing with some issues of their own. They've been, I don't want to say porous on the defensive side, but there have been some teams that have put some things up against them. Now, last week against Akron's one of these 0-4 teams in the MAC. Haven't been really a strong MAC team in recent years. But they lost their leading running back too for the year.
So Smith is gone. He was the Sun Belt player, offensive player of the year,
preseason offensive player.
Preseason player of the year. So they're expecting big things from him.
Yeah.
He's gone.
That's a huge blow.
They've got a guy named Billingsley that stepped up for Akron, put up 100 yards. So it might just be next man up for them. But with Troy, this season it's a little hard to gauge who they are. They got a win against Campbell. They got a win against Akron, who is 0-4 right now.
Right.
And then they lost the shootout to Southern Miss. Now, Southern Miss, we still don't know exactly who they are either. They're a pretty good team. They have a bit of a rivalry with each other. So there was a lot of emotion in that game.
Yeah.
I think Barker, the Troy quarterback, threw up for 500 yards that game.
Yeah.
So
we know what he's capable of. Yeah.
Yeah. The Barker's legit. He has 9 touchdowns, 1,000 yards in just 3 games. So he's going to be a hard guy to contain.
Yeah.
So, but we really don't know what kind of team Troy is right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. Early lines have it Troy favored by just shy of a touchdown. Depending on who you look at, you're looking at about 5 to 6 right now. I think it started around the typical home field advantage type of thing. But I think that SIU game really, I think, is what charged things up. You're giving up that many points. Obviously, Troy, known for being a high-flying act.
Sure.
What do you think here? You see the game match up there. It's actually on 6 p.m. Little typo there. ESPN Plus, though, the official network of the Sun Belt Conference.
Like I said, we don't know what Troy is, but we do know that Troy likes to pass. So Troy's going to be trying to pick apart that secondary. I think they've looked at what SMU did. I think Caleb Barker's a little bit like Buechele from SMU. I mean, he can throw the ball and he can make good passes.
And he can even run a little bit. Now, I think it's one of those deals where he can run, but they don't necessarily use him in the run.
He ran for a touchdown against Akron. I think he had about 40 yards. But other than that, he's been a little calm. But yeah, he can move around. But I think he really likes sitting behind that big offensive line. Troy always seems to have a big offensive line.
They do.
So that'll be a good challenge for Forrest Merrill and Bradley King and the rest of the defensive line. I really think it's going to be a kind of a pound and ground. And the SIU game, that might have been a little more of a bit of a rope-a-dope. It might just be we're just saving our best for next week. So that's
when you come out the gate with some razzle-dazzle there, that's the kind of game you're looking at right there.
Yeah, we're going to entertain the fans.
Now, I would be. Do you want to see a little more blitzing out of this team? Because I know, and granted, this is, I think from what a lot of people have said, some of that secondary philosophy, I mean, guys are playing way off, giving them a lot of space. I don't know if it's that necessarily they're playing more zone than what they are accustomed to, or if they're just not as confident in the one-on-one ability, but I think pressure on the quarterback is going to be one of the keys too here.
If there's a reason. Apparently, there's a reason that we're playing so far off the receivers. It must be. It's either a philosophical reason about bending and not breaking, or it's this idea that our corners and safeties just cannot play man to man. It might be a little bit of both.
Sure.
But maybe you're right. Maybe a little more blitzing will force a few more mistakes, because that's really what our team is about, is capitalizing on mistakes.
Absolutely, and you even saw that one in the UNLV game there. Got a little pressure, got him heated,
Right away.
had to make a quick throw, boom, bam, done. You know, you get the pick six, because that is probably one of the shiftiest secondaries when they have the ball in their hand, they're running back. These guys make things happen. You see right there.
Yeah.
Boom. You put a little pressure on, things can happen, and then this is probably one of the best offensive defenses I have seen in years, because every time they get an interception and they've got a little space to run, they seem to make a big play out of it.
They have a lot of great athletes on that, but for whatever reason, they're just not playing that man-to-man defense that is that shutdown. You know, you say you want that running game so bad.
Yeah.
I really want that shutdown secondary. That would be so great. That would probably help me sleep at night a lot better. Like, I can live with a passing game and a so-so running game, but that secondary, it just breaks your heart seeing wide open wide receivers making plays. So
especially if they get behind him. Now, if they're keeping him in front, okay, you know, I can maybe live with that, because this harkens, I feel like, from a few years back where there was a lot of that. They gave up a lot of yards, but they didn't give up a lot of points.
Yeah, and that's been the Arkansas State philosophy for a few seasons now. They don't mind giving it up yards between the 20. It makes the fans kind of go crazy. But they have been very tight in the red zone, and I don't know, maybe that's the strategy that we need to accept.
We'll see here. We'll see how it works out there. On the road in Troy, so this was going to be a tough environment. You know, they're hyped about their facilities down there. Very nice. It's kind of a rabid fan base.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you see this one going out?
You know what? You know, a few years ago when Troy was ranked, and it didn't look like Arkansas State had much of a chance to win that game. I think everybody was
going to be a tough scene, we thought.
And Arkansas State just came down and put the hammer on them. I don't know if that's how it's going to be this year. I think it's going to be more of a back and forth. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring. I think this matchup between Barker and Bonner is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of gunslinging. So it's going to come down to which defense kind of can do a little more of a hold. I think because I'm an Arkansas State guy, I'm going to go with Arkansas State on this play.
Oh, there we go.
By a field goal. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think both teams get up into the 40s.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's going to be a nice tennis match where your head's kind of going back and forth. Yeah, upper 30s, low 40s, I think is what we're going to see here. So it should be a fun affair. It's, you know, Fun Belt season now for sure. In this conference, as we kind of get into it here, we'll start to really look into the, you know, who's doing what and where and all that. And plus we got divisions.
Yeah.
Need I remind you, so even a loss to Troy doesn't necessarily mean they're out of it.
It doesn't mean they're out of it. We saw that last year. Even though our team was up and down, Red Wolves were up and down last year. They were in it until the very end. So, and that's how these new divisions play it out for us, which is really cool. And this week is really cool too. There's some really good games that aren't just Troy and Red Wolves. Appalachian State gets a very feisty Coastal game.
They've been surprising.
Yeah, Coastal has been outstanding. And then Louisiana gets
Southern. Georgia Southern. Ooh, that one.
So you got three games that automatically have some implications.
Right. Right out the gate. Let's go.
Yeah. So that's I guess what makes the Fun Belt is
absolutely
that anybody can do something. So.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes down again Saturday, 6 p.m. ESPN Plus. In case you don't make it down there to Troy, it's a good haul, but you know. Hey, what you guys do with your time is up to you. All right, Harper, where can the people find you? You're all over the place.
You know, right now I'm writing a column for College Football News. You can find it under Sunbelt Heat, or you can follow me on Twitter at @AStateFanRules.
And there it is for the people, right there for you. So how about that? Modern technology. All right, so hey, man, we appreciate you coming in, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right. Wise words from the A-State Fan Rules, Jay Bir Harper. Make sure you follow him, all that good stuff. And we will wrap this thing up here. Again, Troy, coming up next week, big time game. Conference play gets going here. We'll come back here next week, break it all down for you, and we will look forward ahead from there. So for Jay Bir Harper, I am Jay Bir. We're out.